Get over here!
Hello, everyone! Welcome to episode creature campaign or episode bonus?
I mean, you've been mainly naming these off of chapters.
Yeah,
so,
I was saying that out of a force of habit.
If you want, this can be chapter 22.
Nah, we're just gonna go ahead and call these bonuses. So, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back, that's what I wanted to say, to Let's Play Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. I am the Green Scorpion.
I'm the ComicFoil.
And, yeah, a lot of people have been asking about this, and we are happy to oblige. One extra thing that we can do, now that we've pretty much beaten the game, you guys will notice that the overworld music has changed, is, the game now, refers to this file as Creature Campaign. So, basically that means that we can take our units, and just go around and just slay monsters as much as we want. Come up here, go to the Tower of Valny, clear that out.
Yeah.
But the subject of our interest today is this, the Lagdou Ruins.
Yeah, you guys have seen us clear the Tower of Valny. There is, now that we're in Creature Campaign, there's, I think 10 bonus characters you can unlock between the Tower of Valny and the Lagdou Ruins, but a lot of them require you to beat them, multiple times.
Yeah.
Don't think we're gonna be doing all that, but...
Yeah, I know for a fact you can unlock a couple of characters in the Lagdou Ruins on your first run. It just, you have to clear, a set of certain floors and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that pretty much sums up what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be probably, having a bit more casual. We kind of consider this just the post-game, so we're probably not going to, be too heartbroken anymore about losing anyone.
Yeah, we cleared the Iron Man. I mean, this is... In the post-game, you can unlock characters like Leon and, Erica and Ephraim's father and stuff like that. This is not, canon.
Exactly. So, yeah. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is, if we do end up losing someone, I may, save on a different file or something like that, just, for posterity's sake.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no reason to really delay, so let's do this. We already did some preparations off-screen. Mainly just some, item maintenance, maybe a little bit of training. I know John did a little bit of it, before we started. So, here we go.
Yeah, I didn't get to do as much training this week as I wanted to.
You and I have been very busy. But, yeah, we have promoted, units here. We have, level 13 whites. We got straight-up Cyclops here. The Lagdou Ruins, from what I am to remember, is actually pretty hard. These floors in this area does not mess around.
I never really played around with the Lagdou Ruins that much. Usually by this point I would rather start a new campaign of Sacred Stones than do the post-game of it.
Yeah. But yeah, the cool thing is, we can pretty much, take whoever we want. So
yeah.
If we want to, just focus on maybe getting, our lesser units stronger, maybe bring, a couple of characters that, we've always wanted to use but just didn't have a chance to. Speaking of which, I will be addressing the, not-so-big elephant in the room there. I am going to bring Erica, just because I like using Erica, and she's still good.
It'll be nice to have access to our supply, also,
That's also true. If I recall correctly, she's the only one who can do that.
I think we should bring good units that we want to level up even further, and then maybe we can bring some side units that, we're bringing it along.
Yeah, so, that tells me that we want to bring Franz, Marissa, and Joshua.
Sure.
Because, they're still, below level 10, and, I'm not really all too interested in Cyrene anymore.
Yeah, nah.
If you don't want to do that. These guys are still relatively weak. We can show off Dozla if we want.
Dozla's gonna get wrecked in this place.
Honestly, though, yeah, as much as we would like to level up these guys, they are pretty much, tossed to the wayside at this point. So we can choose 4 more units. So I'm going to bring... yeah, let's go ahead and, bring the, level 11s here. So, I say Vanessa and Lute.
Okay, that sounds good.
And if we want, 2 more, who do you want to bring?
Is Gilliam level 11?
Gilliam is.
Gilliam's just always useful in this place. If things start to get bad, you can just position him as a wall.
And 1 more unit we're gonna bring.
We need a healer.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. It is time.
You'll get your justice. We will keep him safe as best as we can.
Yeah, thanks to him being a healer, we do have the, precedent to not just toss him into, like, harm's way. That being said, this is still the Lagdou Ruins,
I promise we're not just doing this to kill him.
No,
we are going
not.
to try and keep him alive.
Mm-hmm. Like, we're not that heartless.
I don't think monsters naturally break walls.
They might not, but that's still something to keep in mind.
We'll see when we start, but I'm pretty sure they don't have that reflex.
Mm-hmm. I'm still probably going to plant someone here just in case, and also have someone just, like, take an arrow.
Okay.
So...
And we should be on the lookout for longbows, and we should... I don't think there are moguls on this stage, so...
Yeah, I'm kind
of
going
don't have to worry about long-range spells.
Yeah, I'm kind of going through things right now. Ooh, that's... Yeah, we learned our lesson last time.
Yep.
So, keep that in mind. Hello. Is that the... Okay, that's all the way down here. Yeah, I'm just kind of like, look up. Nice. Okay, it's one of the...
Longbowman's by the boss.
Mm-hmm. Alright, yeah. Ooh, this guy's got a rune sword. Okay. Yeah, no, some pretty good stuff that we can also snag as we go through this area. So we'll see how that pans out. Yeah, do we just, like, want to hop right in?
Yep, let's do it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You can't actually save here. So we just kind of have to just go in.
Isn't that weird? We can use the Wii U to make save states, but...
But yeah, I'm pretty much just gonna head on through this.
Alright, let's do it to it. So I did have, like, an idea for a topic to at least start us off today.
Lay it on me.
Because I was just thinking, it's been a little while since we finished up Sacred Stones.
Yep.
It's been a year and a half since Fire Emblem Engage came out. Fire Emblem Heroes is still going strong.
Yep.
I guess my question is, it'll probably be a while until our next mainline Fire Emblem game. But what would you and what would we like to see from a Fire Emblem 19? Whatever number Fire Emblem we're on.
Fire Emblem 18, I think.
Okay.
Oh, no. No, 13. 13? 14? Ah, man, I don't remember now. Dang it. But no, yeah, you are correct. I don't know when...
I think Engage is Fire Emblem 18, so I think...
Okay.
I'm asking, what do you want out of Fire Emblem 19?
The first thing that I honestly would like, and Fire Emblem Engage actually did do this a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the main things I would like right now is a straightforward narrative. And what I mean by that is, like, I appreciate, like, split paths. I appreciate, like, dynamic storytelling when it comes to, like, player choice and whatnot.
Yeah.
I kind of just want a straightforward story. And again, like, Engage kind of did that. Like, or they definitely did that. But it came at the expense of, like, I think they went a little too hard on the straightforwardness, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think its problems were that it was straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about, like, as opposed to, like, Sacred Stones where you have to choose a route, or especially Three Houses or Fates, where basically at the beginning of the game you choose what game you're playing.
Yeah. I guess, for all intents and purposes, I would like a Path of Radiance or a Radiant Dawn. I would like a Blazing Sword. I would like a Binding Blade. I would like a Genealogy of the Holy War, though that might be a bit of an egregious example.
Now, how do you feel on some Fire Emblem games like Blazing Sword really take you from chapter to chapter, whereas Sacred Stones is the opposite, where there's downtime to, like, go do skirmishes or go do things to level grind, and then... since Awakening and Birthright and stuff, like, there's been a lot of, like, side missions you could do if you want to get more experience points.
Mm-hmm.
Do you prefer it with those opportunities to do side missions, or would you rather it take the, like, Blazing Sword, Path of Radiance kind of angle, where it's like, no, after this you do the next chapter?
I think having the opportunity to, like, do a little bit of level grinding, I think actually would be warranted. Again, it's not exactly, like... How do I put this? It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, I absolutely desperately need this. but it does keep a little bit of that agency that, like, you know, some people might miss when not given that opportunity, so I do understand that to a certain degree.
I do think it was, like, theoretically neat how Fire Emblem Fates, like, Birthright versus Conquest, Birthright had a lot of chances to level grind, and Conquest didn't.
Yeah, that was kind of like the thing that, like, a lot of people noticed, is that Fire Emblem Conquest was more reminiscent of, like, old school Fire Emblem where you didn't have that choice.
Yeah, and if that was, like, if that wasn't behind the paywall of buying a second game, I think that could be interesting.
I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I was very much of the opinion where one of the biggest downsides for Fire Emblem Fates was that split title thing. Like, I understand why. Like, I understand what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
The execution, however, just did not work. It did not work at all.
Yeah. I think...
Damn, Franz!
The, like, different paths idea, I like a lot more the way, say, Blazing Sword or even Binding Blade did it, where there's, like, one set story, but there's also some, like, side chapters that you can get by meeting certain requirements. I think Binding Blade gets too obtuse with how you unlock those chapters.
Hi, Nabata Desert.
Yeah, but I like the idea of that, and, you know, I like a little bit of being able to make small choices. I think when your choice is something that you make at the very beginning of the game to choose which route you're playing, I feel like that's a lot less meaningful narratively.
Yeah.
Even if it does provide more content.
I admittedly actually like how Binding Blade did it in a certain instance, where, like, depending on, like, how you go about the game, or, like, which village you choose to save, some chapters will end up being different.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Blazing Sword did that as well, with a lot of their chapters.
Yeah, there'd be chapters that would be different, and there'd even be, like, characters that, like, you'd get either Wallace or Geitz.
Yeah, like, the main one in regards to that was the whole thing with the Reed brothers.
Yeah.
Which I think is super cool.
Yeah, if you do Lloyd's chapter or Linus's chapter. I think it would be cool as far as, like, whether or not there's a lot of skirmishes to train off of. Like, those are really nice, especially if you're really into character building and support farming, and I could see that being a choice you made when selecting your difficulty. That could be part of the difficulty option, because theoretically giving you more chances to level grind is making the game easier. I could even see that as, like, a different choice. So, like, you choose your difficulty, then you choose whether you want, like, classic permadeath mode or modern no permadeath mode, and in addition to that, like, a choice that's like,
do you want unlimited experience or fixed experience?
Yeah, fixed encounters or unlimited encounters.
I actually think that's a great way to go about it, because, again, like, I understand the appeal of the whole, you know, oh, you only have so many choices to, like, or, like, so many opportunities that you need to, like, you know, manage your experience and manage which units you want to use more effectively. That's the one thing that I fear might be one of those factors that, like, if you were to make this mandatory, it would turn quite a few people off, because, like, these people love using their units. They love using, like, every unit that you can possibly, like, if you have the option to, like, use every single unit, they're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't want to alienate people who like the games the way they are now.
Exactly. And whether that, like, again, like, I'm not, like, really the biggest fan of, like, the whole thing with how Engage handled it, which, you know, is no secret at this point. But that doesn't mean, like, that I don't think that, like, the way they handled certain details of Engage itself aren't rock solid.
And I mean, you and I would agree there's a lot of things Engage did great.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, A lot of it, I will say, was in the presentation and the gameplay. Like,
Yeah.
the gameplay, the maps were well designed, the units were well designed. I like the way they, like, rebalanced certain, like, support classes to be more effective and more useful. Yeah, straight up, the engage system with, like, the emblem rings, fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, that was a really, really cool aspect. You were basically going... It was Tokyo Mirage Sessions, but good.
Yeah.
Essentially. I'm not saying that Tokyo Mirage Sessions is bad, but it just did not do it for me. I'm gonna be real with you.
I never played it. I didn't think it looked like something I'd be interested in, so I just didn't engage with it. No pun unintended. But I'm not into hate watching thing. I don't hate watch shows and I don't hate play games, you know?
Yeah.
If I'm like,
Yeah, like, the thing with... I think the main consensus you can make with John and I when it comes to Engage is that we enjoy the game so long as we skip the cutscenes.
Yeah, I had a good time. See, my problem is I can't skip the cutscenes because even though I'm checked out of the story, I, like, feel a need to experience it.
I felt that
if I replay
too.
the game, I'm sure I'll skip cutscenes.
Oh, like, okay, I will say this, like, skip cutscenes now, after we've actually played the game and experienced everything about the story
Gotcha.
and whatnot. Like,
Okay.
at this point, like, I'm not going to begrudge you or anyone if they want to skip, like, you know, the story elements of Engage, because I know there are people who, like, really, really like the things that happen in Engage, and more power to you, but...
I'm curious if there's any Engage plot apologists out there who want to, like, tell us about the parts of the story that they liked, because I'm open to it. I, like, when I did my, like, I did my video, my top 50, or my, I beat 50 games last year video.
Yeah.
Where I, like, quickly reviewed a whole bunch of games.
Mm-hmm.
And what I said about Fire Emblem Engage was that, like, I came in with the expectations that it wasn't the kind of Fire Emblem game I liked. I was not giving it a fair chance. I'm not pretending that I, like, gave it the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
There were things I expected not to like, so I didn't like them. Like, I was being a grump the whole time.
That is fair. And, like, you know, kudos on you for, like, admitting that.
Yeah. I'm not pretending to be an objective reviewer on this. I don't know how to be.
At the same time, however, as someone who, like, was expecting great things from this game, like, I was very excited for Engage. I was very excited to, like, experience this game, and I'm like, oh, shoot, we get to use, like, the previous Fire Emblem Lords as, like, super-powered stands and whatnot. This was cool shit and everything.
Yeah.
And, nah, like, going through the game, I was genuinely just like, Again,
Yeah.
The gameplay, fantastic. The visuals, fantastic. The mechanics and the map design, fantastic.
Plot-wise, I feel like the I want to call them the stands. The emblems,
Yeah.
like, are a plot device. Like, most of the time, their personalities, who they are, like, I don't think is utilized a whole lot, except for, like, you know, flavor and, like, support conversations and emblem conversations, like, that kind of stuff is generally where the best writing is, like, in the side fun conversation. But, like...
Yeah, actually, like, I completely agree. Like, the support conversation, a lot of the support conversations in Engage, I actually think are rock solid. Like,
Yeah.
not the greatest out there, mind you, obviously, but still good.
Yeah, not my favorite in the series, but good enough, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There are ones I still remember that I'm like, oh yeah, I liked this one.
Yeah, same. I was actually, so before I came here, this morning, I was recording another episode of Blasphemous, right?
Yeah.
It'll likely be out by the time this episode comes out, I'm not sure. But yeah, one of the things that I actually mentioned, during my, playthrough is talking about characters that are good religious or, like, you know, faithful characters, like good representation of a religious character. And I actually mentioned Pandreo because I think Pandreo is a solid character for that kind of thing.
I didn't interact with him too much.
I personally really like Pandreo because he's the type of character who's like, oh yeah, like, I am a religious priest. I am a guy who is very much of the faith. But he's the kind of guy who's like, oh yeah, my method of faith is basically partying and having a good time.
Yeah.
But it's represented really well throughout the entire game. Like, And again, particularly because of the support conversations. One of the main things is, like, you know, he talks to, man, this guy is annoying. Freaking Rune Sword. But, he talks to, Vander, and Vander's, like, this old dude who's, like, very set in, like, the older ways of worship. But, he still gives Pandreo the time of day, and Pandreo's like, hey, man, like, I understand, like, this sort of worship is not something you're used to.
Yeah.
And I dig that about it, you know?
Yeah. I think, like, probably what happens is that the people who, you know, write the main game in these scenarios are different than the people who, like, get the job to write the support conversations. And, I mean, they're not... You know, they're not, like, kept in separate boxes. They get to talk to each other. Like, stuff. The characters are... They make sure the characters stay consistent between main story and... But I think...
Which, by the way, may I say, was one of the fatal factors of, Oh, wow, none of these guys can pick up Mulder? Really? You guys are serious?
Mulder hasn't been getting exercise, man. He put on a little bit of weight. It happens.
Yeah. Well, alright then. What you were saying, though.
I guess another thing... I would really like to see a return to... I want to put a stop to a certain trend that started in Fates, where when you get a character, you actually get 3 characters.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think the, like, one royal dude and his 2 retainers is, like, can be fun from an organizational standpoint. But the problem with it is that you're getting... And even, like, 3 Houses has the problem where you, like, meet your first 8 characters all at once.
Yeah.
Luckily, 3 Houses gives you a lot of time to get to know them.
Not just that, but they, like, balance and frame the game in a way that it makes sense.
Yeah. I think part of why, like, Yunaka is so popular is because she's one of the only characters that you don't really get like that, where you get more like how you would get an old Fire Emblem character where you're on a mission and this is the, like, character that you get to recruit this mission. So, like, that kind of becomes their mission where you get to know them. But, like, so often in Engage and even in Fates, you just get, like, 3 new units dropped in your lap. And you're like, oh man, I'm still, like, trying to get a hang of the 3 units you dropped in my lap last chapter. And, like, when am I gonna have time to use, like, Saphir? And, like, I just started... And if you wanted to, like, still do, like, retainer stuff, like, sometimes that could be kind of interesting in Fates, especially when you were fighting against one of the siblings, so their retainers were also on the enemy side. But, like... Yeah, I think you just, like, need to spread out when you recruit these people.
I agree.
Because then, like, I feel like... Like, Perry is my favorite example. You got, like, Xander, and then you got Perry and, Laszlo. I was just thinking Inigo, but, yeah, Laszlo.
yeah. That's an entirely different can of worms altogether, but I digress.
And, like, while I think Laszlo and Perry both have personalities when you get into support conversations with them, because that's how we write characters in Fire Emblem now, they feel kind of like just placeholders that are there because they are Xander's retainer. And, like, when I look at it, I'm like, how the heck did Perry become a retainer to Xander? And, like, it's just, if you're in one of the chapters where you're fighting Xander and Perry is there, the first time I really met her was when she was, like, crying over Xander's death in one of the routes, and I'm like, who the heck is this person?
Yeah.
She's, like, so murder happy. She's, like, killing the mood with how murder happy she is. We're, like, having this, like, serious discussion, and Harley Quinn's over here.
Yeah, like, Perry is easily, like, one of my least favorite characters in Fates, and I mean, I know that's not necessarily a high bar, but, you know, like, come on.
Yeah, it's like, because they're retainers, they're put where they're going to be first, and then their personalities are written in afterwards. So their personalities don't necessarily mesh well with what's supposed to be happening at that point in the story.
Yeah. And again, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, it may not be as big a deal as, like, we make it, but at the same time, you need to understand that, like, it's just a matter of storytelling where, like, it's important to, like, make these sort of things believable. Yeah. You know, even in the context of a video game, especially for a video game where, like, you know, a lot of the time the plots are actually kind of taken seriously, you know?
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe, and I know some people are going to get mad at me about this because, like, this has been a bit of a thing that a lot of people like to bring up. What's Bernadetta doing on a battlefield?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, though. Like, I understand that people, like, they're shut-in neat characters and whatnot, but, that would work if a shut-in neat character was like, oh, shoot, like, my, house is destroyed, I can't no longer stay in here. Hey, you know a little bit of magic, right? Yeah, I know a little bit of magic, but look, I understand that you're, like, stressed and this is not good for you, but we need all the hands that we can get in this fight. Please help us.
Yeah.
That scenario, works well.
I, like, feel bad using this character.
Exactly. Like, Bernadetta is, like, a character who is in a school setting, a controlled situation, and I understand the whole thing with her father. I get that.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is not a character... This character almost, and I'm going to make this clear right now, almost breaks my suspension of disbelief when it comes to Three Houses.
Yeah.
I still like Bernadetta as a character, especially after I got to know her, but that's the thing. Her first impression was not great with me. I got to know her, I like her now, but she's not one of the bigger favorite characters for me when it comes to Three Houses.
The part I like about Bernadetta is I like how when you explore Garreg Mach for, like, the first, like, 8 chapters, she is always in her room.
Yeah.
I think that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I like how there's, like, sometimes you, like, talk to her and Byleth have a conversation where Byleth, like, tries to get her out of her room and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like, that is something that, I like about Three Houses overall, is the fact that they've managed to make a very solid cast of characters where pretty much everyone that you're able to recruit, minus, like, maybe 1 or 2, are universally loved.
Yeah.
Like, even the characters that, like, I didn't really like at first, I wasn't a big fan of Bernadetta. I wasn't the biggest fan of, Lawrence or Sylvain. I was expecting to hate Hilda. I legit wanted to hate Hilda. But the game did a really good job writing a very solid cast of characters that are able to shine in their own way if you actually want to take the time to do so.
Yeah, and the characters that seem like they're there for you to hate usually reveal hidden depths that...
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or, like, even, like, Mercedes, like, seems like she might be kind of one note, but, like, you get to know her and there's, like,
there's, like,
interesting depth to her.
Mm-hmm.
You think she's just like, oh, she's a nice girl.
Yeah. I suppose that is one thing I would like out of the next Fire Emblem, though that is, like, something that is more of a obvious, oh, well, duh, of course you want this, is, like, a more nuanced, story, I guess. I expressed this earlier on Twitter, not too long ago, in that, something that I've not been, like, too keen on lately is, Fire Emblem's sort of, like, power of friendship rhetoric that they've been really, really pushing lately.
Yeah. Which is a really big thing in Japan, in general, in Japanese media.
Yeah, and I get that, but it's like, as a matter of fact, we were talking about the characters from the emblems from Engage, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them are written in such a way where they really push forward that rhetoric. Micaiah talks about it. Lynn talks about it. Marth, I expected. He's like the OG, obviously. Like, he's the original Fire Emblem Power of Friendship character.
I'm of the opinion that most of the emblems aren't really written like themselves.
They are not, with the exception of 2. Ike and Soren.
Yeah.
The Tellius...
I agree.
The Tellius emblems are written like themselves, and I love that.
Because Soren
is an asshole.
And Ike is, like, kind of bemused by everything that's happening.
Absolutely, and, like, honestly, like... That's the thing that really, really, like, bugged me a little bit, because, like, oh man, I remember these characters. Marth I give a pass to. I kind of give a pass to Sigurd. But
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily make any of their characters bad. It just makes them all the same character almost.
pretty much. And like that's why like so many people were loving the like interactions with Soren as an emblem to everyone else.
Yeah.
Is like I love his witty retorts to everything. And like probably one of my favorites is when he's with Celine. And Celine was talking about how like a lot of people tend to think that princesses should stay in the castle and like, you know, play politics and whatnot, but she's like a firm believer that royalty should know how to fight. Royalty should know how to be able to protect their people.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we pay taxes.
Yeah.
That's what Soren says. That's what paying taxes are for.
That's why we pay taxes.
Yeah, and I like that! Like, I like the fact that, like, oh yeah, that's a really noble thing, Celine. Soren, why'd you have to make it political?
Yeah. Pragmatic till the end.
Yep, and again, that's the thing that I kind of miss, is that little nuance. On that Twitter post that I was talking about, right? I was reminded of something I liked about Blazing Sword, and how a lot of the side characters, and even the main characters, a lot of their relationships, and a lot of, like, you know, what's been going on with their, like, you know, personalities, and, like, how they interact with everyone else, had a lot more nuance than they needed to.
Well, the most important thing, I think, in character writing generally, the most important thing for any given character is what do they want, what's their motivation, and then on top of that you get, like, what are they willing to do to get it? Because that gives them what's called dramatic action.
Yeah.
And the problem, I guess... I won't say the problem, because it's just two different ways of doing things, but I guess the difference between a game like Blazing Sword and a game like Fates is that in Fates, most people's dramatic action is that they're there because they are a royal, so it's like their family's business.
Ah, okay.
Or they care about their family, or they are a retainer and they care about the person that they're guarding, so they're there to do that. And that kind of makes a lot of characters just like, if a lot of characters are there for the same motivation or for the same dramatic action, you lose out on a lot of interesting character dynamics that you can get. Whereas with Blazing Sword, when you're picking up different people from, like, each mission, it does make it feel a lot more textured and different of, like, in this group you got, like, Ross, who you picked up from this village that was getting destroyed by bandits, so, like, he, you know, wants to, like, be a great hero like his dad.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, why he's doing it. And Garcia, like, kind of wanted to be retired, but also he, like, sees this light in his son's eyes, so he's going along with it. So Garcia's back from retirement. So, like, immediately you have, like, that's interesting. That's two different characters' motivations that can align on doing this thing, but are coming from different angles.
Which actually would relate to some of the better written characters from Fates, in my opinion. A couple of my personal favorites is Mozu.
Yeah.
Mozu is someone who lost her entire village. She lost her family. She lost, like, everything, essentially. But Xander is like, hey, I get that you're going through this. Come fight for us. We can tell that you have the passion and the motivation to try and change this wrong.
Yeah.
And that's Mozu's motivation. Another character, Charlotte.
Charlotte's a great one.
Charlotte is an amazing example.
She's trying to husband up.
Yeah, she's trying to husband up because she wants to help her family, who's basically impoverished.
Yeah,
like she comes from a low class, so she wants to take care of her parents. So she takes up a job as a border guard, but she's a gold digger for all intents and purposes, but a kind of a noble one, ironically enough.
Yeah,
which is cool.
I think you can have characters' motivations be like wanting to protect their charge. Like, that can be very interesting. I think, like, Dedue is really interesting, I think.
The notable example for me, like, if we're going to talk about the same game, right? Nice work, Vanessa! If we're going to talk about the same game, right? Is, Kaze.
Yeah, Kaze's a great example.
Yeah, Kaze, like, is essentially a retainer to Corrin, but that need to, you know, protect Corrin comes from a place more than just, oh, this is my job. No. Kaze is like, this is someone I care about and I believe is doing the right thing.
And also, like, I kind of owe him a life debt.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. just in Sacred Stones alone, though, like, every character... So, like, you got Seth. Seth is here because he is a paladin of Renee. It is his charge to protect Ephraim and Erica.
Yep.
And that happens to align with he does obviously greatly care about them, but he's also here about duty. You got Franz, who has the same duty, but is, like, way less qualified to be here. So he also has his own, like, ambitions of becoming a greater knight. You have mercenaries like Garrick and Tethys and Marissa, who supposedly are hired and here for a paycheck and has hired them. But, you know, when the chips are down, are they going to leave if they're not getting paid enough? Probably not. This is important.
Yep.
You got Soleil and Myrrh, who have, like, more spiritual reasons why they have to do this. You have Artur and Lute, who are a package deal, but Artur is, like, trying to, like, fight in the battle between light and darkness, and Lute is just kind of, like, curious.
Yeah, she basically
about the Demon King.
She sees this as an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
To be better, to continue her goal to being superior.
And you have, like, Gilliam is also, like, he's a knight, he's doing his duty, but a knight of a different country.
Yep.
And, like...
yeah. If I may bring up a favorite example of mine, Cormag.
Yeah, Cormag is kind of partially here on revenge.
Yeah, not even partially, that's pretty much his entire purpose.
Yeah.
He wants revenge against Volter.
Yeah.
And he's like, after they get revenge on Volter, they're just like, okay, you know what? I'm still here now. Might as well see this through.
And that's maybe, like, the limitation of it is that we don't always check in on them in the plot afterwards.
But that's the thing.
But you can imagine, I guess.
That's actually something that I really, really want to emphasize is... for the next Fire Emblem game, is that we don't need to know everything about everyone all at once.
Yeah.
Like, give us a reason to replay the game. Give us a reason to do multiple runs. Like, and that includes guidance chapters so that we can, like, or like branching chapters and whatnot. The opportunity to be able to learn about these characters on repeat playthroughs because we didn't get to them the first time.
Yeah.
Things like that. That pretty much sums it up for the most part, if I'm being honest. But yeah, like, one thing I was, like, bringing up, did you ever see the attuned Nino event, in Fire Emblem Heroes?
No.
So they have this thing called Forging Bonds, which is basically, like, they get a new banner, and, all the characters are like, oh, hey, like, here's this Forging Bonds event so that, you know, hey, these are really cool characters that we're going to give a greater story to, so here, learn more about them, right? So, at this point, when they released Attuned Nino, this is a Nino who's, after the events of Blazing Sword, where she's basically, like, betrayed the Black Fang, she's with Lagalt and Jafar, and she trained with Jafar to learn the ways of the assassin.
Okay.
However, she still harbors a lot of guilt about betraying the Black Fang and how it caused the death of Brendan, Reed, Linus, and Lloyd. Okay. And in Fire Emblem Heroes, Linus and Lloyd are right there. They are in the Order of Heroes. They are there participating in the events of the Askren army. I do think that's interesting when Heroes acknowledges that, like, characters are saying otherworld versions of people they know. Mm-hmm. And that's actually that's a thing that, like, that points me to why I think intelligent systems will be able to do this. Is that even now they're able to write scenarios that are very compelling. The Attuned Nino event is one of my favorite examples, where Nino tries to apologize to Linus and try to let him know that she feels terrible about what happened, but tries to explain herself. Linus is having none of it. Linus is like, look, you betrayed the Black Fang, you caused the death of my brother, I want nothing to do with you, get the hell out of my face. Like, he is like venomous to Nino. Linus would be the one that would hold a grudge, and Lloyd would be the one more like, alright, well, let's get your side of this. Kind of. Okay. They actually address this. Okay. So Nino's feeling bad, she goes to Jafar for comfort, Lagalt overhears the situation, so Lagalt comes over and is like, hey, Nino, like, I can tell something's wrong, tell me what's going on. And Lagalt brings it to Lloyd. Okay. And the conversation goes like, between Lagalt and Lloyd. So that's the long and short of it. Nino's having a hard time adjusting to the whole situation, even with Jafar's help. And Lloyd's like, why bring this to me? And Lagalt is like, well, despite the fact that it's none of my business, I can't stand it. Linus used to love Nino like a sister, but... And then Lloyd is like, sorry, but if you're trying to get Linus to forgive, you're wasting your breath. Not even the Hurricane has enough wind to make that happen.
Okay.
And he's like, let's just say that this is a problem between Linus and Nino and leave it at that. Lagalt asks Lloyd what he thinks of those who betrayed the Black Fang. Like, what's Lloyd's opinion on this? Like, how does Lloyd feel about all this? His answer, I don't know.
Yeah.
Lloyd is like, I swore to get revenge on those who killed my brother. That has not changed, and that's how I'm going to live my life. That is what I aim to do. But, in this world, Linus is alive. We are still fighting as one together in the name of the Fang as we've always had. So what's this world to me? Is this a place where I should just accept that this is a new world where my brother's alive? Or is this just going to be a dream that I'm going to wake up from eventually and have to face the reality that my brother is actually dead? I don't know. And I'm like, where was this compelling story writing in the main games?
Yeah.
It's like, that's interesting!
I would play a short Fire Emblem game that was like all the Black Fangs. Like, just put some like life or death situations into that drama. Put some chapters around that,
and that's like a good reminder of why I love the cast of Blazing Sword, because despite how many times I played that game, I'm constantly being reminded that the relationships between these characters is far more complex than we give it credit for. I love that.
Even with the very limited amount of dialogue that Blazing Sword could have on a GBA cart, like...
They managed to write some very, very compelling characters.
I think there's a reason why this, inspires writers for this mobile game.
And frankly, like, that's the other thing. I don't think Intelligent Systems and like, the writers of Fire Emblem Heroes are above taking the input of fans to confirm certain things. Like, Fire Emblem Heroes basically confirmed that Ellawood and Ninian are a thing.
Yeah.
They basically confirmed that Selena had kind of a crush on Vigard.
From what I can tell, also Pokemon Masters EX also does that with a lot of the Pokemon characters, where it like confirms fan theories or like gets deeper into things that the games like didn't really have the time or interest to cover.
I remember you and I were actually having an interesting conversation about that, where we're talking about like some of the cooler nuances with Cyrus, which I found really sick.
Yeah.
Like, and how Cyrus, like, talks to a couple of characters about Rotom and the chateau.
Yeah, there's a conversation between him and Socrates from Sun and Moon.
That's it. Yeah.
Where Cyrus shows like familiarity with Rotom, and that seems to suggest the old theory that the old chateau belonged to Cyrus's family.
Yep. And like that's really, really cool stuff.
And some of it is just kind of like funny like Easter eggs or like in jokes for the fans, like the girl who is the like player trainer from Sun and Moon. They make jokes about how she's always smiling. And stuff like that.
Yeah, one of my favorites, it was another Forging Bonds event in Fire Emblem Heroes, right, was Sane.
Okay.
So, the Order of Heroes needs help doing some, like getting some plans in order to, like, get some current operations going. Like, they're basically talking tactics, right? And everyone in this group are your usual tacticians. You got Soren, you got Frick, what's his name from Thracia 776.
Oh, I'm really bad on my Thracia characters.
Fair enough. But basically, like, the tacticians, like, Sias is there too, and all that jazz, and Sedith is as well.
Maybe Leo.
And Sane is actually brought in to like, help with the conversation, because as it turns out, the dude is actually a brilliant tactician.
I can see that.
Because he is able to know exactly which units to deploy for certain jobs, and like which units would be really, really good for them. for these missions. The problem that becomes apparent later is that Sane only knows which units to deploy if they're female.
I had a feeling it was going in that direction.
Yep. And Soren points that out, and he's like, wait a minute. Do you only really know the information of the women in the Order of Heroes? And he's like, yeah. So he's eventually, like, dismissed from the tactician's table.
That reminds me of the My Hero Academia when they're, like, doing the exams where they have to fight their own teachers. And Mineta, who's the horny kid from that show,
Yeah.
is on a team with Sero, the tape arm guy.
Yep.
And they have to fight Midnight, who's the sexy lady teacher.
Yeah. The one whose pheromones can
Put
affect
people to sleep.
Yeah.
And it's something where, like, if you escape the play area, you win.
Yeah.
Or if you capture the quote-unquote villain who the teachers are playing.
Yeah.
And Sero gets taken out right away by sleep gas, and Mineta's, like, freaking out and running for his life, so Midnight's just, like, chasing him and being, like... is just, like, reveling into, like, watching this kid run scared and stuff, only to, like, follow Mineta into this corner and Mineta to, like, spring this trap that, like, sticks her in place, and then he can just, like, grab Sero and go to the exit, and he's, like, Mineta's basic, like, thing that he turns and he's like, you think I don't know what I'm doing? You're the hottest lady in the superhero biz. I know everything about you. I knew you would chase me if I ran because you're sadistic.
Yep.
I've seen every fight you've ever been in.
Yep.
And I think the professors are, like, watching, being like, maybe wanting to attract girls is a good enough reason to be a hero. Like, you know what? Maybe this kid does have a future.
Like, I'm gonna say this, I don't like Mineta as a character at all, but he has his moments.
I think he can be interesting. I also think he can be some of the worst parts of the show.
Oh, absolutely. Like, no questions asked.